So, do you consider yourself to be an independent artist? Most likely the answer is yes. And if so, would you like to make some extra money with your music or your writing or your art or whatever you do in the creative field? I have a feeling you're nodding your head in approval as well. Well, if that's the case, you're in luck because you're going to enjoy what I have to share on this episode and probably the next 2 or 3 episodes. This is a series on how to make money as an independent artist. You up for that? Let's do this. Welcome to The Creative Entrepreneur, where I share inspiration and career advice for musicians, writers, visual artists, and creative people of all types. If you don't already, please subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, or wherever you happen to consume podcasts. So on this episode and the next few episodes, I thought I would focus on a topic that's near and dear to a lot of artists' hearts, and that is monetizing your creativity. I assume this has crossed your mind once or twice. Wouldn't it be nice to make a little extra money to recoup whatever you've invested in your art and your craft? Maybe even to help pay some bills, or maybe even make a living, God forbid, with the income that you earn from your talents. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately because in recent weeks, I've been putting a renewed effort into being a coach, a consultant, and a mentor to a small group of creative people. And even though I'm in the early weeks of working with this group of amazing artists, there are patterns that are emerging. And not surprisingly, most creative people struggle with making money with their talents, with monetizing the gifts that they are attempting to share and offer the world. So with the majority of these clients or mentees, or whatever you want to call them, I find myself working to help identify those areas that have the most profit potential and then focusing on some simple things that they can do to generate more revenue with their craft. So I thought that would be a great thing to cover on the podcast. So what I'm doing here is I'm dipping into my archives because a few years ago, I did a fan funding campaign for a book that I wrote called The Empowered Artist. And during the campaign, I did a series of daily videos called 30 Ways to Become an Empowered Artist. And they were each like 6 to 10 minutes long. And after the campaign, I turned them into an online course called, not surprisingly, 30 Ways to Become an Empowered Artist. It's become one of my most popular courses on a website called Udemy. So what I've done is identified about 4 of the episodes that deal directly with money and sales and monetizing your talents. I just thought I would share them again over the next 2 or 3 episodes. So if that sounds good to you, let's jump into this first lesson on how to make money as an independent artist. So this topic for number 10 is, boy, is this got so much emotional attachment to it because it all is about money. And the loose title for this one is Clear Your Mental Money Baggage. The topic of money is similar to like religion and politics and sex and all these taboo things you're not supposed to talk to strangers about. There's so many things that are attached to it, both good and bad, that I don't even know where to start with this one. Because on one end of the spectrum, when it comes to creative people, you got the people that feel this sense of entitlement. You know, I am an artist, therefore the world owes me a living. And that's unrealistic or delusional. There's sort of also on that side of the fence, there's the bling crowd and the people that want to be like rock stars. And then on the other end of the spectrum, which I think makes up the majority of creative people by far, are those who feel downtrodden. They refer to themselves as a starving artist, as a struggling artist. Well, you know, I'm not going to make any money with this stuff. Like the very first book that I had published was back in the early 90s, and it was a book called 101 Ways to Make Money in the Music Business. And I remember a guy back then going, hey, you know what? Your next book should be called 1,001 Ways to Lose Money in the Music Business. Ha, 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 ha. Not really that funny, actually. Because he's just feeding into this vicious cycle of artists are starving and not worthy of getting paid and blah, blah, blah. So here's what I want to tell you on this one. And this especially pertains to you if you fall into that starving artist mentality. You deserve to get paid for your art, especially when you realize the value that it delivers to people. I'll be talking about this more in upcoming segments. But for now, just realize there's nothing greedy, there's nothing lacking in integrity for you to want an exchange of money for whatever it is you create, whether it's music, whether it's books or poetry or the visual art, or paintings, photography, whatever it is. If people are benefiting from it, if you're making people feel better or feel something that's of value to them, you deserve to get paid for that. There's nothing wrong with that. I've been teaching marketing for 20, 25 years, something like that. And there are just so many artists that I don't feel like asking for the sale. I don't even want to let people know they have stuff available. I'm going to sound like some kind of shyster or used car salesman. Get over that. You don't have to do that to be a prosperous and abundant artist. You shouldn't do that. Here's the bottom line for me. I think what causes that whole used car salesman manipulative thing is that people have it in their heads that sales or exchange of money is a win-lose proposition. I've just talked somebody out of their money, I win and they lose. And that's bogus. You're not taking anyone's money when you prosper or get paid for your art. It's an exchange of value. In fact, I think it's an uneven exchange of value. When done right, the value of the thing that you gave them, whether it's an album or a piece of art or your book or your stage play or your piece of clothing that you designed, the value of that thing should actually be greater than the money they had to part with to get it. Do you get it? You're not taking anything from anybody. You're giving a ton of value. They're giving you a little bit of cash in exchange. And you deserve this, especially if receiving money will allow you to not have to work odd jobs or a day job so you can pour more effort into your art. I admit, I've been there myself when I had a day job and I was working on my writing and book publishing efforts on the side. Even though I got stuff done, as I mentioned in an earlier video, I didn't have all my energy there. I had to fight off sleep sometimes and maybe turn down friends from going out and doing fun stuff because I had something that I wanted to work on. It was a greater purpose for my life that I had to put time and energy into at that time. So when you get to the point where you can either partially or fully support yourself with your art, which means bringing enough money to take care of your needs, you're in a more empowered place. You can devote even more time into honing your craft and being prolific and creating stuff of value. You can reach more people, which then hopefully will bring in even more money, which will allow you to make more art, etc., etc. So please, if you have any hesitancy or any sort of negative, that little voice in your head going, you're being greedy, they're not going to respect you if you're asking for money, that is definitely a voice that you want to quiet very quickly. There's nothing wrong with getting paid for your art. Now, let me be clear. You don't have to do this for money at all. A lot of this message would apply to people that just want to do art for the joy of it, to share it with people. Maybe you've either got a nest egg saved or you have a day job that you love, that you don't plan on quitting, and you're happy to do this part-time. It doesn't matter if you make money. That's great. All the power to you. You don't have to add commerce into this if you don't want to. But if the reason you're not adding commerce into the equation is because of some feeling of, ooh, I'm going to be tainted somehow if I ask for money, you got to get over that. You deserve to be rewarded for your art, especially when it's valuable, when it touches people, when it improves their lives, when it adds to the tapestry of their lives. Don't shortchange yourself in that manner. So what do you think? You ever been guilty of this? Of going, oh, I don't want to be greedy, I don't want to be manipulative. Or are you feeling empowered and you've been okay with asking for money? Would love to know your thoughts in the comments, wherever you can comment on this page. But really, I'd love to hear what you think. You can even email me. In fact, I'll give you my email address. It's bob@bob-baker.com. Yes, there's a hyphen between my first and last name. Don't leave that out. So just email me at bob@bob-baker, BAKER.com. I'd love to hear from you. Another way to stay in touch by email is to get on the Creative Entrepreneur VIP list. And when you do that, I'll give you free access to one of my courses called 30 Ways to Become an Empowered Artist. It's on Udemy. It's like 3.5 hours of video training sessions, yours free. All you have to do is go to promoteyourcreativity.com, enter your name and email, and boom, you're on the VIP list. Again, that's promoteyourcreativity.com. I'll also have a link to that in the show notes. And if you'd like to support my ongoing efforts to educate, inspire, and empower creative people around the world, please become a patron. Just $1 or $2 or $3 or $5 or $10 a month will go a long way to help me cranking out more of this inspirational material. Just go to patreon.com/Bob Baker without the hyphen to learn more about that. As always, thanks for all you do to express your creativity and share it with the world. I'm Bob Baker saying so long for now.